Right.
Okie dokie. We're live. Another Saturday, another podcast. Develop Your Mindset podcast. Here we are, me and Louise, back on the podcast. This is number 85. We did it. 85. Yeah, it's been a while, and this is amazing. So, we got you guys amazing things to talk about today. I don't know if you guys noticing. We have people watch this podcast. If you guys noticing, we're changing the podcast a little bit different. We're going different direction. In short, we have a brain. We always have thoughts. We always think about things that matter to us. And then, sometimes you stop and then your brain keeps on going. So I'm bringing conversations, that kind of conversations where you are having it by yourself, like your mind is doing it for you. So it's going to be a lot of discovery, a lot of potentials, a lot of different kind of talks here. Me and Louise, we're going to go down the rabbit hole or hole, and we're going to talk about a lot of different ways why it's important, why we think that way. So, um, and I guess pretty much that's how we're gonna take it and go with. You can.
Yeah. As you said, we're always looking to interject, new concepts and different ways to deliver information for you guys, and so that's what we're gonna do with the podcast. And so, thank you very much once again for being with us on another episode, and hopefully you like the new path, the new direction that we're taking with the podcast, and hopefully you find a lot of things that we're going to share in this episode very helpful towards your life, and you understand your thoughts and your mindset a little bit better. So we can
Awesome.
go ahead and start.
Let's do it. So today we're calling this Discover Hidden Potential. What is it? Let's do it, man. Let's find out what is the hidden potential, right? What is perspective? Everyone has a perspective, and it's very difficult to know what people are thinking and what is their perspective. How is it? How it works and what it does to you to your day in and out. So, perspective, how does it work? Why people have perspective? Why there is such thing? This word explains this phenomena, this habit, that this thing that we do with our brain, trying to figure out. Right? We're all trying to figure out. Since we were little kids, we were very curious. I was very curious. I was very into it. Why my brain does this, does that? How do I think? And then I forget about it, and then I go about living life, worrying about certain stuff, and forget about how I'm doing this worrying, how I'm doing this thinking, and then one day I realize I remember again to kind of pay attention to how I'm doing this, why I'm doing this. So in that, I start learning that your brain does certain things, and I start asking the question why and how, and is it true? Am I imagining certain things, or is it the way it is? So all these things, I'm sure you guys going through these kind of things too. We all do. I don't think the age matters. It's just the approach changes in time. When you get older, you have different perspective, different approach to it. So perspective is very different because I don't know, like it's almost like a standard also perspective. Everybody, like a lot of people see the same thing. Their perspective changes. They see it a little bit differently. How does that happen? I don't know. Let's talk about it. How does it happen? Like, is it time? Is it experience? Is it where you live? Is it because of your environment, your friends, and um, if you're living in a city or living in a mountain, is it the same? I kind of see it a little bit different. I see people living in mountain. They need different way to operate. I see people living in a city. It's a different things are important for the city. So this perspective changes. Um, and then when like two people come together, kind of you get into a conversation, it's always a little bit different. Like you see it differently because maybe your age difference, or maybe um, your understanding of that certain thing, right? It's the perspective changes. And how does it work? I don't know how does it work. I mean, it's a good, good answer, good question. How does it work? Is we're gonna try to figure out how does it work. Maybe Luis can say something where I can say something, and then eventually we're talking about it. And
Yeah.
how does it work? Day in and day out, because this is something that we're definitely doing it nonstop all the time, and we're trying. Sometimes we're doing it with unconsciously, you know, and it happens to me a lot. After we do stuff, we said and done. After I get people, friends, telling me like, "What did you do? Why did you do it that way?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" And like sometimes I'm not even aware of how I'm doing things, but I'm seeing it a different way. Other times I try to explain myself the way I did it. It doesn't even make sense to the next person what I'm saying. So this is very different, very weird. I would love to hear from you guys if you have any idea how this perspective works. Uh, why do we have one? I would love to hear from you guys. Leave a comment down below. We'll have off of this podcast. We'll continue the conversation that way. But I want to hear from Luis how he's going to explain. Maybe me and him we get into some kind of um, back and forth.
Yeah. So perspective. So yeah, man, I think you covered some of the sources in which perspective can be developed. So it can be through, the people you surround yourself with, the place that you live in, the place that you work at, and all these factors can really contribute to the ultimate perspective that you have. And really, I think perspective can be divided into different aspects of your life. So you'll have a perspective towards relationships, or maybe you have a different perspective on work. You have a certain perspective on life in general. You have a certain perspective on respect, and so on and so forth. And I think really the perspective, it really is the way you define all these things. So you have your own interpretation of what love means to you, what respect means to you, what hard work means to you, and so on and so forth. And so I think everybody's perspective is fair and square. I think everybody has the right and should have the right to have their own perspective on life. And sure, these things will be dictated by the things that you find around yourself. But I think the most valuable thing to take away from perspective is that it can be modified and you can change it if you wish to do so. And I think uh, when you make that decision to change your perspective, I think it should come from a place of really asking yourself if you're happy currently with the perspective that you currently have. Like, is that perspective bringing you happiness? Is it fulfilling you? Because if it is, there's really no need to change it. Like, why don't change the things that are actually working for you? If it's working out for you, don't change it. Leave it alone. And so, if there's a perspective that's actually fulfilling you, like maybe you have a certain perspective of love, you have a great relationship, and you have a perspective on how relationships should work, and it's working out for you, then don't change the perspective, because obviously that perspective is working out for you. However, there might be another person here who they have a certain perspective about relationships, but in their relationship maybe it's not really working out so well. And so I think the best way, if you want to interject your perspective into that person, is first really understand their perspective. And by understanding their perspective, you really have to dig deep into that person and really allow them to express themselves. And of course, when they express themselves, allow them to express themselves in their entirety, before you even say anything, because your perspective will pretty much not, it won't click, it won't resonate with that person until you actually understand their perspective, because that they have a certain way of seeing a relationship. And so that you have to know what that is That way you can explain it to them in a way that makes sense within their perspective, so you can't just come from the outside and try to modify a perspective, which is very personal for a person. Actually, a perspective for a person is extremely personal. It's something that uh, that's not something that someone can change from one day to another. It could make an influence on one day, but it's going to take a while for them to actually change and adapt to a new perspective. So
For
it's
sure.
it's very personal. So in order to influence somebody to change their perspective, you really have to understand and empathize with their perspective first, and then explain it to them in a way that makes sense within their perspective. So you have to say the right words, use the right examples, and really talk to them as though you're in that perspective. You completely understand it, as opposed to just trying to interject your own perspective into that person. Because if that's the case and they never really told you what their perspective is, then yeah. So how it works like on your day to day, day in and day out. I think it really comes down to use your perspective to really accomplish the things that you want out of life. So you may be out there, you're working hard, and your perspective on hard work maybe of you may interpret hard work maybe working
Makes you feel good.
3 hours, and then you need to take a break, and then you work another 3 hours, and then you take a break and another 3 hours, something like that. You can have your own perspective on hard work and what it really means to do that. And at the end of the day, I mean, obviously, in order to really see, you really have to track it. Track your progress as far as like your perspective goes. So in order to figure out if your perspective actually works for you, see if you're actually hitting the goals and getting what you want out of that perspective. If not, then it's time to change it.
All right, so I'm wondering, you're talking, that was a really good explanation, by the way. I really enjoyed. My thing is like perspective. I hear perspective a lot from a lot of people. And what are you experiencing? My experience is I see perspective changes in time, or sometimes from a um, major, how do you say, like accident or event.
For sure.
Right after that, your perspective is changed, like about life, about living, about caring, about having more compassion, or like all these feelings that we all spike on and elevate on. Sometimes that makes us go depressed and not happy. Sometimes it takes us happy, but because of a lot of the time, not all the time, but a lot of the time, because of perspective.
For sure.
So, what did you experience? If you remember anything that you can kind of like give an example, I'm sure people are always thinking to themselves and seeing this in real.
For sure. Uh, your perspective can either be something that so you can proactively go and change your information. So you can change your perspective by going and educating yourself, studying, going to events, going to some sort of experience, going trying out something new, doing that. You go out and you choose to do these things. And then of course there's the reactive type of perspective that can change your perspective, which these are things that just happen. You can't really control them. They just happen from out of nowhere, left and right.
Yeah.
And so the thing is that I think you should be proactively doing it just so that you understand how the process works. Because there will be times where you'll experience some unwanted event that can change your perspective, and you have to be ready for it. You have to be ready to make that.
Yeah.
You have to be ready really to adapt. Adapt to whatever, because that experience is an experience after all. And so there is information there to be learned, and so you have to be ready to take that experience, even if it's bad. Take it in and learn and use it to change your perspective accordingly and adapt, and make your perspective on that situation much better. But of course, you have to understand how that works. So Well, I think it's good that you actually go out there and you practice changing your perspective proactively. Go and read new books. Go and challenge some of the perspectives that you currently have. If you are not really like motivated to go change your perspective, go and question the things that you currently believe right now. Question your own perspective. Be like, why do I even believe that? Like, go and listen to the opposition. Go listen to the other side. And, maybe the other side has some other points that you're probably dismissing, and because
Yeah.
you're so stuck on your own perspective. And so, yeah, that's
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Don't agree with yourself all the time. Challenge yourself, right?
yeah,
That's very important. Uh, Good. What is it? It's a good thing to have. You're not agreeing with yourself all the freaking time, because like, what the hell? You're gonna become a better version of you. You have to challenge yourself. You gotta try to figure out where you stand with this perspective. Now there are a lot of normal, easy perspectives, which is when it's summer, you wear differently. If someone's wearing thick coat, you would like, what is this doing? What this person's doing? It's a perspective. What the hell? Like, the guy wants to be even more hot, but or whatever. Like.
yeah,
But that's where the obvious things. We're not talking about the obvious things. We're talking about bettering yourself. What does it take, like, to better yourself? Now you got to challenge yourself all the time. Like Luis said, like, ask the question. Maybe go on the mirror and then start pushing yourself. You like don't agree with yourself. Like, why am I doing this? Like, can I change it? Can I be better? Like, what's going on here? Maybe like you have this perspective and then you argue about something and you argue 10 times, and sometimes when you argue you win and you lose. Maybe you're losing more, or you're winning more, or whatever is going on. Ask the question, like, why am I thinking this way? Why people are weirded out on what I'm saying, or why people are agreeing with me all the time? Maybe you want challenge, like, you don't want people agreeing with you all the time. That's not good either. Sometimes, yeah. So you always have to ask the question, um, about your perspective, about things you do every day. When was the last time you kind of had to deal with one of your perspectives, or the way you see stuff?
Oh,
Did you
man,
have any?
no, I mean, every day
Awesome.
I'm constantly studying, reading books. I'm doing things, to like, uh, really get to because I really like to get to the root cause of pretty much anything, and so I want to see what's the root cause of anything that I may be feeling or experiencing, because it's only through the root cause that I feel that you can really fix the actual problem. And so, yeah, so pretty much like I'm proactively challenging the perspective that I currently have. But of course, every time you do that, of course, I think it's necessary, and it's extremely helpful that you learn and that you take this information from people who you admire, people who
Right.
actually know what they're talking about too, because you don't want to be taking feedback and criticism from people who don't know what they're talking about, who haven't actually gone through whatever it is that they're telling you to change. Like, that's just not right. Like, uh those people have to actually know and be aware of the mechanics behind what is it that they don't like about your perspective, because if they don't actually know, then at the end of the day it's just an opinion. It's not really something that you can actually take with you and actually create some sort of change. There isn't anything that you can hang on to, which is really the difference between feedback and criticism, I would say.
Nice. The next question is part of the first question, which is understand how you develop this kind of quality. So there are a lot of qualities on people, right? Like, some people we say they have charisma. Some people are very dry. Some people are very talkative, funny, crying, all kinds of people, right? So you have to understand and develop this kind of quality, such as, like, when people in general, when people are like when people in general, when people are working on on their perception and perspective, they're more in tune with the conversation because they're trying to figure out and trying to give the benefit of doubt or the room to have that open conversation, and you have to understand and develop skill set, I guess, to kind of like be able to do this. Otherwise, a lot of people, you know how they are. You're like, no, that's not how it is. I don't agree with that, and that's like you just fucking close all the doors, and then what are you gonna do now? Like, conversation's over, everybody go home, or shut down your brain, and you just have to kind of develop skill set doing this. How to do it? You have to start understanding that this is really happening. So if you, as soon as you start understanding, you start doing something about it. And what are you going to do about it? Like you said, start reading a lot of books and start listening to seminars, like people, intelligent people, that they figure this out, deep analysis, and learn from them, and then take it and then use it in everyday life, and then try to figure out what is perception, how perception work, why do I have one, like what is this, like once you're figuring out, you start on what is the word, unraveling the the mistake you do, and also I have to add this one more thing, which is like people say, are you going through a midlife crisis? Like when you start figuring through those things that you don't want to be this person anymore. I love to be this, whatever you are, you're working towards to be that. Whatever you are, you're working towards to be that. A better version of you. It's the perception is part of it, and then you have to start understanding this thing. It's not going to be in one day, and it takes a development too. So I know you said about the books and stuff. What else you can do to develop yourself?
Your perspective, really.
Yeah, like
really
like really, we're
your perspective, really.
yeah, like
really
we're coming to the bottom of the funnel now.
Yeah.
Like you to becoming the better version of you, it's going to take a lot of work. And I thought this question is important because this question is there for like doing.
Yeah. So I think really like understanding like how to develop your perspective. I mean, I myself, that's pretty much what I do. I like to go to the people who already have been through this, who, whatever it is that I'm looking to change on as far as like the perspective goes. So maybe like I'm trying to change my perspective on let's just say maybe money. So then I'm gonna go to the people who are successful with money, and people who I admire that have gone through a journey which I myself find very admirable, and and the way that they make their money as well, and all that has to do with perspective as well. Maybe I want to change my perspective on communication, so I'm going to go with someone who understands communication, can explain communication well, and in a way that I understand it. That's the thing, because I think it
Such a great one.
it really matters that you actually understand what you're studying, and that you understand it at a core level. But what I mean by that is that when you understand it at a core level, it actually pushes you to take action without really needing too much of a push. Because if you feel like you need a lot of push after being told like what to do, and you still don't feel motivated, that means that you're not being told that specific thing in the right way. And I learned this through experience as I went through life, because at first, I had people around me telling them to me, it was just not clicking. As obvious and as clear as it seemed, it just wasn't clicking. Like either it was their attitude, it wasn't right. So then things in communication you have to figure out that when you're making a delivery, when you're explaining something to someone, and you do it with that certain with attitude. I mean, unless that person is that's what they respond to, you're gonna shut them down. If you start to use, let's just say, a certain words, or you start to talk too fast, maybe, or you deliver things very strongly, you may turn them off. Or the opposite may be true. Maybe you use words that are too soft, they're too nice, and so that may turn the person off because they were expecting something of high energy, something more aggressive. And so you have to understand that you have your own blueprint, you have your own way of intaking information, and so you have to find the right people that can communicate in the right language that's right for you,
Yep.
and then deliver the information for you. Which is why I'm not I'm not a big I'm not a big advocate of really listening to and it's nothing like it's bad or anything, but I'm personally not a big advocate of listening to the people around you, as good as they may be, as good as their intentions may be. The thing is that maybe they're just not delivering information in the right blueprint, and so it's just not going to work. And so it's better that you go and you proactively search for either the instructors on video, or that's, and who knows, maybe you do have somebody in your network, in your circle, that can communicate, and in that case, that's very good, and you should actually seek people who communicate to you in that language that you understand, because that even makes it even faster to intake. It's like almost having like a personal coach right there, with you, and so that's great. But other than that, I mean, that's really how I do it. There's obviously other ways to do it, but this is like my personal way of developing quality.
That was amazing. I hope you guys really got really the points that he was honing on. It's very crucial, very important, because that he was honing on. It's very crucial, very important, because really seriously, like especially beginning of life, beginning when you are really coming up and really start developing perception, and then slowly. What's going on?
It's still going, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's just that it froze here, so
Okay.
I can't control it from here.
Okay. So seriously, really, like it's so important to. Uh,
Can you press something like that when we're done?
Oh.
Yeah, thank you.
it's very, very important to really start understanding this, because really, like, I remember when you were saying that, I was living back in when I was very, very young, and my dad was telling me, like, don't do it like this. Why are you doing like that? You gotta, when you grow up, you're gonna suffer, you're gonna pay the price, and I didn't understand what the paying price was. I didn't understand why I'm gonna pay. What am I gonna pay? Like, what do you mean I'm paying? Like, I don't pay money. Paying is not only with money. Paying is with not having. You could have had everything. Paying is like, you're not the best talented painter, the car painter, painter. You could have been the best painter if you just stuck around that one shop. That one guy was so good and willing to teach you, but you were not into it. Your perception was, you can figure out by yourself, and you weren't able to. Stuff like that. Like, it's not easy. It's so hard to bring yourself down, your ego down, your perception down, and open your ears and close your mouth. Start listening. Start understanding. These are things that you develop, and it's a perception too, And then, that whatever you just said was right on point. It's amazing. I hope you guys have, this kind of experiences, especially the young ones, and those are precious. When you start having this kind of conversations or experiences, you should be so glad, so happy, and so enthusiastic about it. And That was really good. Yeah, I mean, there's so much to say about that part from my end, but I'm gonna like keep it short. Um, End of the day, I think they got the point. Whoever's really into it, you know.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. Do you have anything about that point? That's such a great point.
Well, yeah. I mean, well, I think I was gonna talk about like the potential downside to that.
Yeah,
Like
yeah. Let's listen.
if you didn't do that, if instead you try to push through and you try to like, they just say that you don't want to seek out, you know, other people on like online or read books or anything, and you actually do want to listen to the people around you. So maybe your family, your friends, the people you work with, whatever, right? And the way they're explaining it to you is just not connecting with you, and you're trying, but it's not working. And at some point, you may even think that it's you, that you're just not capable of doing whatever it is that they're asking you. And so this may bring you down even further down because uh these people are telling you they're telling you, whatever, change this, change that, be more this way, be more that way. But and you're trying, and maybe they're even telling you like, why don't you just smile more, why don't you talk this way more, why don't you do this more, right? And so you're going there, but you're trying, and you're just unable to do it, like, and you're going at it, and it's just not working. And you refuse to go and listen to somebody else because you trust this person very much. And so eventually that can lead you to be like, you know what, maybe I'm just not meant to communicate. Maybe I'm just not meant to put myself out there. Maybe I should just pursue something else. And the thing is that that's not true. It's really not about you. It's really the way the information is being told to you at that point. And so obviously you have to make your own decision here. Maybe it is you. Maybe maybe you're not doing it right, but they just say that for this case, you are actually doing it right, but the information is just not, it's just not connecting. It's just not being told in the way that you need it. And so this will be much different if you actually went and you studied from other sources, and then you found this one person like, oh, I really like the way this person said it. Now it makes sense. Like, now it clicked. Now I can see like you have like that light bulb moment where it just clicks. And so that's really what you're looking for. So if the people around you, when you listen to them, it clicks, then you don't have to do all the research, even though you could. That's always good. But if it's not clicking, go and look for it somewhere else, because eventually you can make it work, but you just have to hear it from the right person.
Awesome. I mean, seriously, like I think we can continue this all the way 3 hours, but it's such a great point. It's such an important one. Like you have to ask the question, and like there's so much. But if someone's explaining to you something, you have to ask the question, like, what do you mean? Like you have like 4 times if you ask question after another, you probably be most likely you're gonna figure out and understand what this person's trying to tell you, because a lot of the time we kind of hold back and we don't want to ask the question further because of the reasons. Maybe like we're shy, maybe we don't want to insult that person, and or maybe like whatever reason is, you gotta kind of like remove the reason, and you're gonna nicely politely ask, can you explain to me further, because I did not get it yet. It doesn't make sense to me. What is going on? Sometimes it's not going to make sense, really. Like maybe if you haven't pushed yourself enough, it's not going to make sense to you until really take the leap, like the jump, the like like get into it, and then you gonna start understanding a little bit more, because real life is different than movie life, so there's so much the perception starts developing and understanding. You're telling yourself this is how it is. Either you're thinking there's no rich people are greedy, and they're fucked up, and they do bad things. That's why they have money. Or poor people are stupid and they're dumb and they don't know anything. And these perceptions are very different. You have to kind of, there's a way to understand this. There is a way to get out of this. Change your perception about money. Change your perception about what is money. Change your perception about how you can perception and you're working towards the byproduct is the money. Like you start doing good things, right things, and once the wheels are turning, the money is floating. So this is again, we come to understanding and perception. Perception is what is perception? Is reality. You're creating your own reality. You're starting reality. You're believing in certain things, and that's becoming your reality. I hope all these things that we pushed, we talked, it's going to help you to understand that you gotta change your perception if it's not working out because you have a wrong perception on it. How can I buy a new Mercedes-Benz? Change your perception, right? What is it going to take? Start asking the question, and then start working towards about what is it going to take. And then when you achieve, you're gonna have it. You're gonna achieve it, and your perception becomes now completely different because shit. So this is the way to do it, and to get to this. Not start giving excuses and examples that why and how it doesn't work. So I don't know. You wanna?
Yeah. No.
You have anything? All right. Let's move on. This was amazing. I love it. Next. This is very dear to Louise. So I put it here, and this is gonna go a little bit. I hope what I have in mind. Like let's do it. Believe in structure. What is structure? Structure is everybody's a little bit different, right? You wake up in the morning, you probably have to brush your teeth before talking to anyone or kissing your girlfriend or wife or whoever you're kissing. That's the structure. That's how you build. That's how you build yourself. Next is can't let go. Some people can't let go. We're going to talk about that. Go with the flow. Some people go with the flow. They don't try to control it. They don't try to fight like, is this something I can eventually control it and get out of it in one piece before I get shot, fucking real bullet or something like that, because there are a lot of different sometimes they're not going to finish very good on your end. So now you're going to come back to believe. You believe that on certain things, and those are your structure. And if it's not attainable, sustainable, it doesn't belong in your structure. It's not you. Or sometimes people believe on hypotheticals and I'm going to become rich, I'm going to become amazing, famous, rich and famous, but there's no structure, there's no rules, there's no how to. You got to figure out, ask the freaking question again. This is all about getting smart, getting intelligent, becoming a better version of you. You're always pushing yourself to like not settle on mediocre way of seeing, thinking. I would say look at your bank account, because once you fight, you go through heartache, building yourself, and then building your wallet, building your integrity, everything that shows. Your bank account is going to show eventually. And then once, that's why when you see someone has money, because they freaking work on themselves, that money did not appear from the sky. Like they work on themselves, they did it right, they did it good. That's how the money will do it good. And you don't do it right, money will go somewhere else because that person is doing it. It's simple. Now I'm saying money because it's a moving thing, and it moves through our hands. We give each other. And then when you're doing everything good and right, it's going to come. People are going to give you more than you give out. So That's how it happens. Now, if you don't have structure, you're in a deep shit. I sometimes believe, personally, now I'm changing. I used to be very, very structured person, and if someone mistreated me, I fucking didn't like those people. It doesn't matter if it was a customer or it was a friend or if it was somebody that I only talked for half an hour. But I've been changing my perspective a little bit these days. I'm letting go of that, um, like that structure that if it's not like this, if it's not red, if it doesn't look like red, it's not red, So I'm letting it go. Maybe my brain is seeing it a little bit different. Maybe it's red, but I'm seeing it pink. I want to give myself a chance, let go of that um, moment to figure out, to see, can I control it? Can this really be red? Can we change it into red or something like that, And then I kind of take myself to that place now, and my structure is becoming more flexible, more like, more like rubbery. You can push it a little bit that way. But then again, that whole rubber thing, it's never changing. It's very difficult, very hard to pull some component out, add some more component in, because when you get older and older, your kind of like structure is becoming more harder and harder, but I tell you what, guys, like, you have to have let's put it this way, your teachability index, because you have to be, like, how do you say it? Like, you have to be teachable, It doesn't matter the age, you be teachable, It doesn't matter the age, you kind of have to, when you don't know something, you have to let someone teach you something. That's what I'm saying. So that's what I'm gonna kind of stop, and you have a lot to say about this here, and I'm gonna take it in another direction from there.
Yeah. So it seems like you went to like different places there.
Definitely, it's very deep conversation.
Which is why it's important to have structure, man. Or else stuff like that happens, man. So here's the thing, like with structure, like for me, structure has always came very natural to me, and that's because, I think this is one of the key factors that really separates, being like an introvert, because structure is really like one of those things that, we just love, and it's very natural to us, and it's something that helps us really understand life and understand the world in general, because for the most part, we're very logic, and we don't have the word logic here, but I think logic should have been inserted somewhere in there. But because I think logic and structure really go hand in hand there.
You want me writing it?
Because no, it's okay. But yeah, I think definitely structure it's extremely important if you want every single action that you perform throughout the day to produce a certain result. So if you want everything that you do during the day to account for something in the next upcoming months and the upcoming years, then each action that you take throughout the day should be calibrated in such a way that it's amounting to something. So perhaps today you do, this type of work, and then the next day you do, you work on the same thing, but maybe a little bit more, or, stuff like that. Or it also helps with like developing habits. When you have a structure in place, it's very easy to implement a new habit because you have it structured. So by structure, I mean that everything's timed properly, so that every little thing that must be done actually gets done. So maybe you also want to get fit, so then you structure a certain schedule for for you to work out, and so that has to be done from certain times. And you have maybe you have work, you have your significant other, so you got to give them time as well, so that that relationship, eventually it amounts to something as well. So it's all about progress, and that's why I like structure, because when you structure things properly, um, it always helps to like maintain that progress in all these areas of your life, because you might be working on multiple things in your life, everything from your relationships, your friendships, work, your health, you actually studying as well. Maybe you set a certain, maybe 1 hour just focused on pure solid studying, or you just read. Maybe here you're trying to build up your skill and stuff like that. And so you have to make sure that all these things are actually moving forward. And if there's no structure, then you can't really guarantee or even track your progress in these areas, because everything is just all over the place. There, not only that, but as far as the control goes, I think I definitely believe that if you don't take control of your own life, then somebody else is going to take it for you, and that could be other people trying to pull you into their own and their own pendulums and their own structure. Maybe they see potential in you, and they're like, all right, I want that person to be part of my structure, so that I'm gonna go and like poke at them and try to like get them to be part of my structure, as far as like whatever my agenda is. I want them to be part of that, and so that they help me move forward, and so I'm using their time to move myself forward. And so people will do that, and so you have to be able to manage and take control of your own life, because if not, somebody else will. There's always people out there who would love to take control of you, who would love to make use of your time in some way, shape, or form. People can get very creative with this. So that's why I think it's important that you actually do take control of your own life, and that you actually structure it properly. Now, when structure goes, sure, I think eventually there will be times where unexpected things happen. You have to take care of something that's outside of that structure, and so the structure maybe falls apart for 1 day or two, and so you're unable to really perform certain tasks that you had initially prepared to do. You had scheduled them ahead of time to do, and now they're not possible because something unexpected came up. And so that's normal, that's going to happen, but that's no reason for you to just say, okay, I'm not going to structure anymore because certain things happen here and there. I think it's also important to have structure to maintain your boundaries and standards in place, because that's really what makes you trustworthy, when you have standards and boundaries, because those are what define you. And so if you start to let those loose and start to, sort of like, ease up with your standards and be more flexible and stuff like that, you start to diminish your trustworthiness, because now people don't know if you're actually gonna meet the expectation, if you're actually gonna do what you say now, because they're like, okay, yeah, this person promised me to be there at a certain time, but who knows? I mean, this guy is like, his standards are kind of flexible, so who knows? Maybe somebody tells him, hey, can you help me out here? He's probably gonna say, yeah, I'll help you out, and now he's gonna be late to whatever the meeting that we had, because this guy's flexible. This guy's not rigid. He's not strict about like being on time. And so I think that's why it's so important to have structure as well, because this allows for other people to be like, to respect you, really, to respect your boundaries and not cross them, and really know what you're worth and know what you stand for. And nobody's going to be attempting to really pull you in or try to control you, because you're very aware of what's going on, because you're controlling the thing here. You're not letting just randomness or go with the flow. I think go with the flow is fine when you don't have any goals, when you don't have a purpose, when you're just living life comfortably, you have no ambitions, you're pretty much just, you're settled, you're good. Go with the flow, let somebody take you somewhere, and then you go somewhere else and do this thing. Why don't we try this new thing today? Why don't we do this cool thing? And there's no like way to really tangibly track any of that or amount to any progress. It's just all random activities, which could be fine if you're like on a vacation or something. You're going with the flow. You don't really have to structure that. You just kind of go on a vacation, and you pretty much just try to enjoy yourself and go with whatever happens over there. But when things get serious, when you're actually after serious goals in your life and stuff like that, I think it's important to develop structure.
Oh my God. Yeah. you just made me write so many points, man. That was amazing points. That was really good. Um, everything you do, what he said, it's gonna work. But I'm gonna talk about the other side of what he is talking about. Now there's the other side, guys. There's a bunch of things I want to say, and I'm gonna go fast because I feel like this podcast, if I take it really deep, we're gonna be here 2 or 3 hours. But I'm gonna put the points on. I want you guys really, really think about what Luis said, and what I'm about to say about the other points. Okay, about the same things that he talked about. Okay, here we go. Weak points. Do you know your weak points? Do you understand what weak point is? Weak point is, if you're not good reader, don't freaking sit and read like you're gonna become the best reader in the world. You should do it, but you must understand, in order to build something, you have to use your strength. You have to use your the best what you in. You know, if you're a great painter, don't take the job of fixing the fender. You're not going to do a good job. You're not going to bring in good value. That's not going to work. Find out your weak points. Coach. What is coach? Why Magic Johnson had a coach? Why President has a coach? Why everybody that made it big has a coach? They find people that they understand them, and they understand the coach, and they will coach them not to say this, how to say that, to play it this way, to play it that way. This is your weak point. Practice this more than the other points. You are already good in that point, but bring your finger this way instead of that way. You're going to be able to throw the ball better. You need a coach. Find a coach. Can you find a coach full-time? Can you hire a coach full-time? There are a bunch of firms out there that they have coaches, and then you can sign up with them $500-$600 a month, and they will assign you a coach that will help you to be a better version of you. Now, next, elastic. You have to be elastic. You cannot be square cut. It's not going to work, guys. World is not square cut. When you need structure, you have to be able to push it slightly this way or slightly that way. Not everything's going to go your way. You could be successful in so many other things. Why? If you are square cut, you're not going to be. You're not going to have that friend. You're not going to have that job. You're not going to have that thing that's going to help you to grow, to become the better version of you. You have to be able to shift from this side to that side without really breaking down your structure. Figure out. It's not that easy, man. We could be whole day here talking about it, but then most likely you're not going to understand it until you go through it. Next, if you're not, what did I write here? If you're not, what the fuck? Secret thing? Never mind this point, fuck it. Control freak. The last one.
Yeah.
You have to let go of some of the structure, some of the control. If you don't, you're not going to grow. I let go a ton of control. I let go control for you to take over a bunch of things that I'm not doing. I let go control over there. I let go control in there. I let go control a lot of places. But I make sure all of you kind of doing what's must to go towards the direction of the goal. We're not going to the beach. We want to go to the mountain. Let's go to the mountain. You have to be able to let go that. But also everything you said was true too. None of this is diminishing what he said. Actually, it's amplifying it. You have to have everything what Luis said. You have to have structure. You have to wake up certain time. You can't be lazy. You can't be drinking. You can be doing drugs and then want to become millionaire. What the fuck? That's not going to happen, bro. Like you have to have a structure. You cannot do these things. If you want to become this person, you can do these things, and you will become this person because you are doing what you have must do. That's a structure too. So you can take it from here. Kind of put your input on the other side of this thing.
Yeah, so I mean the weak points for sure. Like it's important that you know which are your weak points, which are your strong points, and yeah, I think there should be when it comes to the structure. Yeah, I mean you should be flexible to some degree, and I think this is gonna your structure is gonna get more and more rigid. I feel like throughout the years as you gain more experience, you understand what you want out of life. You understand what things matter and what things don't matter for you, so you'll be able to filter these things out better. And so eventually you'll have a nice set of things that you really like to do and certain type of people that you like to be around. And so, and of course, as far as like your strengths, you'll know your strengths, you'll know your weaknesses, so you'll know which are your strengths, and you'll most likely base your structure around only your strengths and let other people do, the things that you can't really do so well. And sure, I mean, I think definitely, I think you should be flexible and elastic as far as like when you're developing the right structure that can work for you, because at first you may develop a structure and look like, and it may seem like it's not really producing what you really want it to, so then it's good to then break that structure, go and like try out things, and then once you have more experiences, more perspective, then okay, then go back and build a new structure and see if this one works. Maybe this one doesn't work, so then you break that one, you create another one and stuff like that. um, as far as like the control freak goes, um, I think that one's a little bit different. As far as like the way I see it, I think as far as like if you're like in a leadership position, I think you should um, really instruct like the rest of the team and really let them know what you expect from them, and really have them understand that okay, like this is the amount of actual control you have, and this is where you don't have control. So these are the parts where
Yeah.
maybe you should ask, and these are the parts where you're free to do as you please right there.
There are musts and there are.
Of course, yeah. And I think these things should be explained in the necessary detail, whatever, depending on your teammate. Every teammate, you're going to have to talk to them a little bit differently depending on who they are. But there should be an understanding there. And I don't think there's anything wrong with maybe a control freak, maybe to a certain degree, maybe a little bad because, you're starting to like uh, control things that, may be a little bit too much to the point where, this person is pretty much they sort of like become sort of like your robot or something like.
Yeah, you're not allowing.
And so, but it depends. I think it really depends on the type of environment this is. Like maybe this is a job where they just need to perform something. Like maybe it's like McDonald's or something.
For
Like
sure.
like you
Like working Walmart.
yeah, like your job is to just maybe fix the shelves, put the products there. There's no creative thinking there. It's just you putting things there and putting things there. That's it. That's your job.
It's a good analogy.
But so in that case, you may have to take full control as a leader. Be like, tell them exactly what to do, and that's it. But if it's more of a creative job, then in that case, I think it should be more explained, like as far as like how much control that person has and stuff. But
Awesome. Yeah, like meetings and everything we'll have definitely. Well, that was a really good point again. I think we're coming to the end. I'm glad because we're supposed to do 30 minutes, but
yeah,
let's push this one. Spiritual self, mind, and heart. Now, there's a situation here. Everything we talked about is people take it a little bit differently. You know, let's say perspective. Now, when it comes down to um, understanding and feeling and 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 knowing, this is where your spiritual self and mind and heart comes. Now, this is, in short, it works this way. In short, it works. Spiritual self is your higher self. What is your higher self? It's almost your aura. You're out of your body. Your spirit. Your my name is Baruch. Baruch is aura, the feeling, the vibration, the energy. My thoughts send signals. My if I think about something, sometimes it happens in front of me. How does it happen? I don't know how the fuck I know. It just does. I understand it that it does. So I'm very careful what I'm thinking, what I'm saying, how I'm saying things. My mind sometimes takes off. It does its own thing. It doesn't make sense. It's angry. It's happy. It's confused. It wants something. It needs it. It wants something now. And like, what the fuck? Like, it's so crazy. Your heart feels. It's a feeling. It's the beginning of you. When the in the womb, when you started, your body started getting built in your mom's womb. The first thing you started from was your heart. The heartbeat starts, and then it starts from there on. So the heart builds your body. You, it builds you. So everything is stored there. We have to listen to our heart. Do I really love this thing? Do I really want this? Do I really care about this? Should I continue? Should I not? Like, what do I like? What do I love? And then your mind comes. You connect it together. Okay, if I love this, how am I going to do this? Oh, I need education. Oh, I need to meet this person. Oh, I need to stay work longer to make this work because I want this. My heart is telling me this is where I should do, what I should do, where I should go. Your spiritual self, you're vibrating in that, on certain levels, certain hertz, and those hertz are vibrating your energy out. Next thing you know, you're looking for a secretary, and then next thing you know, exactly what you imagine, that secretary appeared from nowhere. How it happened? Who knows? Like, we don't understand. I don't understand it, but I do understand that this is how it happens. So I pay very good attention to it. I make sure I'm vibrating on a good vibration, not a low vibration, high vibration, and I make sure my heart and my mind is connected together, so I can make some kind of headway. I'm not drifting in life. I'm actually going forward and making headway. So in short,
Yeah. Yeah, so the spiritual self, the mind, the heart. So, spirituality is not one of my strengths. I don't study spirituality as much. I will eventually. I do hope to get there at some point, but at this point in my life, I just don't. It's just something that I can't really implement at this point. Like, it's not something that, because I'm focused on, like, marketing and stuff, and those things are more applicable right now. So I would rather much study something like that I can implement and help towards that and push that. And so, and then there's other things too, like as far as like things that I'm learning about myself. And so spiritual journey might happen later on, but definitely very open to it. As far as the mind and the heart goes, I was telling them earlier that I'm a big believer more of the mind than I am of the heart, and that's primarily, of course, like I said earlier, more of an introvert. So logic is more of my thing. So I see things, I see structure in everything. Everything is everything has like a process. It's like I see little wheels, like turning, like
the three.
like no, it's like that wheel that you made on that ring. Is it the one you're wearing, or is it the other
No,
one?
no, I'm not wearing
Or
this.
is it the
It's
other
the
one?
money flow thing.
Yeah.
I do understand what
with
you're
the
saying.
gear, yeah.
Yeah, like if this turns 70 times, the other one turns 8 times, and it's the time is 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
It's never gonna change. It's always
Yeah.
gonna be like that. That's the formula.
Which is why I'm like the things that I do are more like computer oriented because there's a lot of logic
Yeah.
involved in
Yeah, let me cut you for a second.
yeah.
Just to put this in there. Now, how do you find this formula? That's a question.
What do you mean? Oh, like
Yeah, like that time, that wheel, and how do you find the formula? When does it become important to find the formula? How do you
when,
wanna
the,
find the formula?
when there's a problem, really.
When there's a problem?
When there's a trigger, when there's something that catches my attention, that's usually when. Because I mean, I can't be in that state either, like in logic, like 100% of the time. I would lose it. I wouldn't be a. I wouldn't have like. Of course, there is some heart in me, and so there's emotions, and so those are in operation as well. But for the most part, like I said, it's logic. But the way I do that is that usually when there's a trigger, when there's something happening, I usually start to think like, okay, like what's going on here? Okay, like obviously with technology it's very easy to really do that. You go, you understand how the mechanics work, and then you get to the root of it, and that's done. But
Computers built like that.
but like when it's a person, it's a little bit different there because
Computer doesn't have heart.
exactly. So that's why I'm very fascinated with technology, because it's all about logic stuff. But things are very predictable there. You understand the way that thing operates. It's very easy to just go in there and communicate with the computer, and you can expect a certain result because it's logic. There is no like nothing like spontaneous about it. However, obviously I can't just spend my whole life there. I'm just gonna go crazy there. So obviously, there's just say you're interacting with a person, in that case, the way I see it is like, okay, this person said this. Okay, so if they said this, does that mean that their perspective on life is based on that? Like, why did they say that? Why did they say that at this specific time? Is it because did I like do something that triggered them to say this, or
No.
or are they feeling a certain way? Maybe they experienced something before they came to me and they're talking to me. Maybe something like maybe they throw an insult at me, right? So now I'm thinking like, why did they insult me? Like, is it something I did, or is it something that maybe that's the way they talk? Maybe that person was unconscious about it. Maybe that person had a fight earlier in the day, and so now they're in a bad mood. This bad mood triggered that. Maybe it's the topic that I brought up that triggered them to say something like that. So that's really how what goes. And
Yeah, a lot of that is heart too. If your heart is saying that you need to protect your homeland, most likely you're gonna go to army and you're gonna learn how to shoot a gun and go to war to protect your homeland. That's like your heart is telling you. Your structure, your mind is not telling you that. Obviously, the news could market it that way, and you would get into that pendulum, your mind, and you start doing it like it's important thing to do, and you just do that because you're not even thinking with your heart anymore. You're like this earlier. You said like you're not robot. You become kind of robot there too.
So continuing with that example though, so that was like sort of like the hard part of it. When you start asking, you start wondering all these questions. I think that then afterwards, the logic comes in is when, okay, this person, now I want to know why. Because why do I want to know why? Maybe I actually care about this person, and I don't want this person to be doing that ever again to me or to anybody else. So then I gotta start developing a set of questions that are gonna help me figure out what is the root of that. So then I start thinking about certain questions. I'm like, okay, but before that, obviously, you're going with the heart. So then you gotta befriend this person first, so that they feel comfortable. They have warmth there, and then you start like injecting the questions, which is the logic. That's how we get to the actual root cause now. And so you ask, okay, like did anything happen like before you came here, or like is there like a something happened to you in the past, or that now you just impulsively respond this way, or and then you start asking, and then eventually you get some more information. Then based on that information, you can decipher what could be the cause of it, and maybe you can help him out now in that way. Maybe you can tell him, like, hey, you know what, like, it's okay, like, look, that happened, doesn't mean you have to continue doing it this way. You don't have to insult people, you don't have to talk trash about people and stuff, because this is gonna lead to that and that and that, and eventually, like, you could start asking them things about the future and how it could affect them in the future that they're doing this right now. And so, yeah, I'm very fascinated about doing stuff like that.
I know. I really seriously, guys, I want to take this, go another rabbit hole down to, and we're just running out of time. I'm realizing the time is like really, we're killing time here. I hope you guys gonna find this very exciting, very knowledgeable, and let's go to the last question, because really, like, this is. I love talking about this, but like, we're definitely gonna take the podcast into this dimension, and we will be definitely getting into this kind of vortexes and figuring out stuff while we go along. Hopefully, you guys are gonna be in it too. Like, leave comments and talk and say your mind, and this is something that we're all trying to strive to understand to how it's working. We are humans here. The best humans are still trying to figure out how this is working.
Yeah.
And it's very, very good subject. For the last question, it's going to be develop your mindset on going with the flow. Again, here we talked about flow. Luis has a very different perspective on this, but I have to tell you guys one more time about what the flow is. The flow is, there's always a flow. There's always a pendulum. There's always an energy happening, when especially couple minds come together. Now, this flow could be dangerous, or it could be what is the word? Very, very like you're going to achieve something. How do you want to say that? Like, very. What is the word? So this is how it goes. Like, people come together. If you have structure, if you have perception, and it's out of your perception, most likely it's going to trigger your anger, or you're upset, you're depressed, or something. Or if you have a structure and it's not your kind of structure they're talking about, you're kind of going to go out of your self, and you're not going to want to be part of this. Obviously, if they're talking about selling drugs and you don't want to sell drugs, you definitely want to get out of there. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, there are situations we cannot control. Someone walks in room with a gun, and what are you going to do? You're going to jump in? You're going to get shot? Should you wait until he shoots you? Or what are you going to do? You kind of have to start believing that the system, the life, and the universe is going to come in, and it's going to open a place where you can say something and you can change the scenario. You have to kind of not fight it. You just have to kind of let go of that obsession, that control, and go with the flow. But you have to engineer it. You have to work on it. Like, you can slowly talk to him why he's doing this. You don't need to do this. This is, but not. You cannot say, "Why are you doing that?" That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about letting go, calm down, and relax. Come to that person's level. There is a level he's vibrating on. What level? Figure out. If you can figure out, this is not going to work out all the time, but this is the only way you can actually come to that level. If you let go of your expectations, your anger, your frustration, your tripping out, and then understand that person, become like that person, maybe. And this is what I'm talking about. Letting go. You need to learn how to let go in certain places in order to save your ass or somebody or something. This is what I'm talking about. So you have to develop your mindset about this.
Yeah. So develop your mindset on going with the flow. I mean, like I said, everything going with the flow is kind of passive and it's not very proactive. And so I think it has its place. Like when you're trying to go with the flow, I think it's great if you're just trying to, have a good time. If you're trying to just ease things, whereas a company, you're trying to ease things with somebody, you're trying to like kind of, not create too much polarity there. Then in that case, it's you can go with the flow and really not have too much control of it. However, if you are a purpose-driven person and you actually have goals and you want to produce results with your actions, I think going with the flow is completely going in the wrong direction there because in order to produce results, you have to be able to track those things. And in order to track them, you have to actually, have a structure that allows you to perform consistently in a way where you can track that progress. As opposed to just doing it randomly, then you can't really track anything. And we can go back to people like I know he was saying kind of like to make people feel a little bit more comfortable and stuff where they are and stuff, but needed in order to achieve a result. And I look back to people like Steve Jobs. You saw Steve Jobs, the way he ran his company, very ruthless with his employees. People that worked there, he was very ruthless. Like if he saw people underperforming, they were gone. Like there was no like let me make you feel good about your emotions and let me this and that. If you weren't performing, if you didn't have a structure for your work in order to actually achieve the results that he expected, you were gone. Like there was just no like compromising there. And so that's what I like about that, because you have that structure and you have those standards too. You implement those standards and you don't allow anybody to like cross those, and if they don't meet those standards, they're gone. And so I think that when you do that, it pushes people to actually perform even higher and to perform at levels where they feel like they have to meet the standard. And so they bring out that extra of them. And now you can see like what he created with that type of structure there. But yeah, that's just one example.
Well, that's one way of running a company. There are different companies that grew to billions of dollars. Wasn't run that way. Now, let's ask the question really carefully and very short. Did he do that in the beginning when he had only 5 people? Or he started doing it when his 5 people turned into 50 and then 500 and 5,000 and 50,000? When did he start implementing that? There's a point where you can actually push the button. When is it?
From the beginning, man. He started with the guy that was making the actual components. Pressure that guy. Even though he was his friend, but he made him actually perform. And obviously, Steve Jobs had the vision of how he wanted that put together. So it helps when there's like that vision. Like I said, purpose. There's got to be some sort of vision, and then that structure will be built around that vision. Like, okay, this is what I plan to achieve. This is how I want the computer to be. This is how I want people to interact with it. So this is what I expect of you. If you can do it, I'll find someone else. But this is what I want. Like there's no compromising on the vision. There's no compromising on the purpose or stuff like that.
Yeah, that's gonna be for next round. We're gonna finish here. That's a very deep conversation again.
Yeah.
We can dive into the rabbit hole. I would agree with you on a lot of points, and I would see it a little bit differently on some points. But then again, some maybe next or one of the next ones we will have this kind of conversation without. I mean, we kind of want to finish here. I hope you guys had amazing time. I enjoyed the hell out of this one. This is number 85. I enjoyed the hell out of this one. This is number 85. We did have really deep conversations about a lot of important points. And I start losing my voice, and this is not good because I'm going to do another podcast after this. And yeah, I appreciate you guys. If you listen this far, you're a trooper. You enjoyed it, and please leave a comment down below. We would love to hear from you, and don't forget to do likes.
Yeah. Yeah. So I had a lot of fun with it as well. I feel like I was able to say a lot of things that I haven't been able to share on the podcast. So that's good, and I hope you guys were able to stay all the way to this point. And you guys learned a lot, of course. And yeah, I mean, there was some stuff that we can go even deeper, and I'm pretty sure we will in the upcoming episodes. And so we hope to see you there for those. And yeah, man, thank you for watching. There's going to be links down below to our social medias, to our book if you want to download it or you want to listen to the audiobook version. Links will be down below. And yeah, I mean, other than that, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
We're done.
Done.
Yeah. The hell?
No,
That's
we're
wait,
done.
wait.
She's still.
We're done. The smile.
Yeah, that's right.